Canon are releasing a brand new camera into the EOS Cinema range. I'm actually shooting on it right now. It's the Canon C80. So this is a follow-up to the C70 that we saw a few years ago, which is kind of a nice, lightweight, compact, that's what it's designed to be, like cinema camera. So you're still getting very, very good video capability. It's absolutely a really powerful tool for videographers, but it's in this kind of slightly smaller, lightweight, hand-holdable body. That's absolutely the case with the C80 as well. But this also inherits quite a lot of the features that we saw in the C400, which is amazing because I think this makes it actually appeal to a pretty wide range of videography kind of subjects. So you could have your solo videographer, someone like me who shoots this kind of stuff, maybe business promo videos, maybe kind of smaller projects, but when you're out and about, run and gun kind of style, so you can use this handheld or on a gimbal, or you could absolutely use this as part of a wider production with cameras like the C400, and this will be your smaller camera to get in those slightly tighter spaces, to move around a little bit quicker on a gimbal and stuff like that. So I think it actually works for both of those kind of setups, which is amazing. I think it makes it very, very versatile indeed. So let's get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of this camera. We've got the same sensor in this that we actually see in the C400. So that's a full frame 6K BSI sensor. Of course, this is RF mount as well. And we also see expanded connectivity with SDI and Ethernet terminals actually on the camera. And the actual control that you get with this camera is really impressive. I've not had a super long time with the camera, but I've had enough time to kind of really get a feel for it. There's so much customization in the way you can set this up, and the level of control on the camera, while not being, I would say, completely overwhelming, is really impressive. You really can go in and fine-tune the way you want this to be set up, which I think is a fantastic way to do this with such a kind of tool of a video camera like this. But it's also completely usable, for example, with the flip-out screen, which I'm using right now to be able to see myself. You're not forced to use an external monitor with it. You can just use that screen, which I think is just so useful for tighter spaces, for run and gun stuff, and for keeping your kit pretty compact, as well as the actual camera, the overall system. And one of the big things which I think is fantastic to see is much improved autofocus from the C70. So this is inheriting the same kind of system we saw in the C400. So you've got that dual pixel CMOS AF2, that's full sensor coverage. You've got people and animal detection, face and eye tracking. It makes it so easy to shoot stuff like this, to shoot moving subjects. It means you can really concentrate on just your framing. And if you're actually moving around, especially, like I say, as a solo videographer, you don't have a focus puller or something like that, it's just a lot easier. And we're definitely at a point now with cameras like this, you can absolutely rely on that autofocus for video, which hasn't always been the case in the past. And I personally would feel completely comfortable with that. So shooting, like I say, a small business promo video, for example, that's always the thing that comes to mind for me with a camera like this. You're gonna have 16 stops of dynamic range, but much better low light performance as well. So you've got triple base ISO, 800, 3200, and 12,800, which means that you are getting significantly improved low light performance with this camera, which is so impressive. And I think so important because of the kind of stuff you might be using this camera with, where you don't always necessarily have full control over your lighting setup. I think it's fantastic to have that option available to be able to shoot with such a high ISO. And again, to take it back to that small business promo shoot, I have absolutely done shoots where I had no option for setting up proper lighting. I had to just get the shots. It's a bit chaotic. And actually having the ability to shoot like that, where I can bump up that ISO, not worry too much about noise, makes such a massive difference. And I know I'm still getting very good quality video. Now, of course, speaking about that, I mentioned the sensor, same in the C400. We've got up to 6K resolution here. You can shoot 6K 30p in RAW. Of course, you've got 4K, 10-bit, 422 as well. That's completely available to you. You've got lots of different ways to shoot, actually. Lots of different resolutions, lots of different frame rates that you can shoot at. If you want to shoot high frame rate, 4K 120, of course, 2K 180p as well. But lots of different recording formats available to you, all the way up to shooting in RAW, in camera, which I think is great and a great option to have. You're not going to be using that all the time, but you'll love to see it in the camera. And then coming down to, like I say, 422 10-bit, you can shoot H.264, H.265. You can even shoot two different formats to the two different card slots. So if you wanted to shoot cinema raw light to one card, for example, and then XF AVC H.264 to the other card, you can get that set up to actually do that. You can also shoot proxy to one card. Really useful things like that, which are going to overall just make your life a lot easier. video. We're also seeing some nice quality of life stuff with this camera. So the handle has been redesigned. It's actually really comfortable to use this handheld, and that is, I think, probably my preferred way of shooting. You could also pop this on a gimbal. I think it'd be fantastic in that kind of use case. But we're also seeing things like a new position for the joystick, which just feels very natural in its placement, and a much brighter LCD screen, which I have to say, I did have the opportunity to test that out on a very sunny day, and it was no problem. I bumped the brightness up. Of course I did. Of course I did. It was very, very sunny, but I didn't have any issues with that. So I didn't then feel the need to pop an external monitor on that I could bump up the brightness to some crazy level. I was completely fine using the flip out screen. And for something like this, where I can see myself in the screen next to it, absolutely perfect. The actual quality of the video by itself is really beautiful. I mean, it's really, really lovely stuff straight out of camera. But then you've got lots of options for how you want to shoot it. So you can give yourself options for how you want to grade it later, how you actually want to present that final footage. And I think that's fantastic, right? Because if you want to do it straight out of camera, you've got the option. For example, let's say that you're live streaming, which, by the way, this camera has IP streaming, which means that you're able to do real-time video transmission over the internet with simultaneous recording as well. So great for things like maybe sports broadcast or anything like that. So useful to have that in camera. So straight out of camera, it's looking fantastic. But if you want to shoot, let's say, all the way up to shooting in RAW to give yourself the most flexibility later when it comes to how you want to grade it, you can do that. For me, this is the perfect balance for a cinema camera like this. It absolutely appeals to someone like me where I can use this as a kind of all-in-one system, right? It's got the screen, I just need to pop a lens on it and I can be out the door shooting whatever it is I'm shooting. Something like this, shooting a small business promo, even shooting a larger production. I can do it all and I can just be going. I don't have to have some massive kit with me to kind of get it started. I can just be actually going. It's so flexible in the way you can shoot. It's such a great tool for videographers and there's so much that you can do with it. But like I said at the beginning of this video, it also completely fits in a much bigger production as either a B cam to go alongside the C400, for example. I mean, it's going to be so easy to match the footage from the C400 and the C80. They're using the same sensor, so it's going to be very, very easy to just match that up. So, for example, C400 A cam, absolutely, and then C80 for maybe some different shots, maybe getting a little bit closer, maybe moving around a little bit more, but still retaining that same level of quality. There's a lot to love about the C80. I thought the C70 was a lovely camera, but I think the C80 really does make some significant strides upwards in terms of the upgrades and in terms of what it can actually do for you as a videographer. Now you can check out the full spec, all of the information that you might want to know about it, including pricing and all that kind of stuff, by following the link down in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well, because there's new content all the time. I will see you in the next video, but until then, as always, thanks for watching.